One of my favorite things about MLP is background characters. Sometimes these characters grab our attention either because they're interesting or just fun, and some of them even become fan favorites. But today I wanted to talk about a character that I feel is highly underrated, a character that is both interesting and mysterious. This is September, a pony that appears throughout the MLP comics, and that has been a mystery for me for a long time. So today not only I want to talk about this highly underrated character, but also trying to solve who he is and what's his purpose on the story of G4 as a whole. So let's begin. The first thing that I wanted to answer in this video is how often did we see him in the comics, and for that I did the most sane and sensible thing. I got all of my comics and I basically played Where is Waldo with this pony. And I was surprised that on the 180 comics that I saw, this including the main series of comics, Friends Forever, micro series, spin-offs, and even the annuals, with the only exception being the Equestria Girls comics because I don't own them. He appears in 48 comics, and the stories where he appears in sometimes are important and other times they aren't, but this little detail will be important later in the video. But now let's see who September is. The first thing to know about September is that he is a reference to the show Fringe. More specifically, he's a reference to the characters known as the Observers. The Observers in the show are interdimensional beings that have a fascination for history and human culture, and in the show we normally see them in the background of important moments in history. And September in the comics resembles one perfectly, with a more dull coloration compared to characters both in the show and in the comics, and always sporting a suit and a fedora style hat. And as the Observers in Fringe, he has been to other universes as we see him spying on Celestia and Sombra and Reflections. Not only that, but what I feel that makes September unique to any other MLP character in the show and in the comics is that he never interacts with our main characters ever, and in the rare occasion he did, it was either to judge them, as we saw in the movie prequels comic issue 3 where he judges Capper and Jumper for using rocks as clothes. Or that time where he tells Twilight and Spike that there's more than one of everything in Reflections, and the weird and mysterious things don't end there, because we know from the comics that he is basically immortal, as we see him in Nay Anything in Shining Armor's concert and later in the party, or that time where he was watching Glitter Drops and Suns and Shimmer when they were fillies in the Return of Tempest Shadow. Or the fact that he seems to be interested in just certain characters, such as the main six, Celestia and Luna, Radiant Hope, Sakura, Big Mac, Discord, Tempest Shadow, Capper, and weirdly, Sunset Shimmer. But why? Why observe these specific characters? What is the purpose of him observing them? And more importantly, who exactly is September? One of my first theories about him was that he's a time traveler who has already seen the events of G4 take place, and maybe he's just observing them or maybe even guiding them so they don't mess up anything in the timeline. This could explain why he's always in the right place at the right time, and while saying that he's a time traveler seems crazy and far-fetched, we did see other time travelers in MLP, mainly in the comics with Discord, Time Turner and Rose, and Starswell. But on the other hand, the thing that might explain who September is comes from the show Fringe. In Fringe, by the middle of season 2, it is revealed that Walter Bishop, the scientist of the group, and his partner discover a way to cross dimensions and explore them. But due to their actions, they created two parallel universes that are now in a collision course, and those who are in the original reality are determined to make sure that their universe survives. This could sadly be the case of the MLP comics if we were to see it as a different universe, because in Reflections we learned that Starswell and Celestia did the exact same thing, with Celestia later abusing this power and possibly putting her universe in danger. This leading September into their universe to prevent the destruction of this one. This could explain why he observes certain characters and maybe he even manipulated some of their decisions. For example, that time where he showed up at the convocation of creatures where we learned that part of Equestria belongs to the Griffins. Maybe he wanted Twilight to know about this event so she could prevent it, or him observing Sunset Shimmer to later sabotage her life, so Twilight would fulfill her destiny to first be the student of Princess Celestia and later be the ruler of all of Equestria. And maybe he's even responsible of making new destinies for some of our characters, like Capper and Sakura, who later become part of the Elements of Harmony as we saw in Season 10. And these are not the only instances where he might have manipulated our characters, but let's go to my final theory, one that actually makes more sense than the other ones. For my final theory on September, we need to go to Season 10. Now, Season 10 is officially canon, but what we learn in Season 10 is that September might not be a common pony, but rather a Knight of Harmony, maybe one of the last ones, as this not only explains how he can travel between dimensions, because we know that there were interdimensional beings that travel between dimensions to share the elements with other realms. This could explain why he observed Capper and Sakura, so he could lead them to be in the correct path to become part of the Elements of Harmony. And this could explain why the light of the Temple of the Knights of Harmony never went out, because they never left. They stayed in Equestria, but they hid, waiting for the correct moment to find suitable users to wield the Elements of Harmony once more. And if this was his goal, he accomplished it, because the main six, with the help of the new Elements of Harmony, did defeat the most powerful magic users in the universe. And as we see at the end of that comic, forging a new Equestria, one where every creature is united, including the Elements of Harmony, with September beginning to plan the next chapter of their story. But whatever or whoever September really is, it is undeniable that he is one of, if not the most mysterious character of all of MLP, and who knows, maybe he's still observing some of our characters out there, we just don't know.